I don't talk about the girls as, the Starfish girls or those girls. I was one of those girls. And when I went to start the organization with my husband, what I did was go back to the Gambia. I didn't want to say I am one of those girls, therefore this is what I think will work. I actually went back and interviewed 10 girls from kindergarten, 10 elementary school girls, 10 middle school girls, 10 high school girls, 10 girls that had just graduated high school, and 10 female teachers, and said, if you had to go through your educational experience but had the resources to make it the best that you can think of, what would the elements be? Is that my mom was the first girl in our village to go to high school. And because she was able to go to high school, she was able to structure our lives in such a way that all 4 of her kids went to college. And then, most importantly, returned back into our community to try to make a difference. My grandmother's generation to my mom's generation to my generation, there are drastic differences because of access to education. And so if I can offer that to the girls, then I replicate my mom's story several times over, 100 girls at a time. The struggles of women around the world are varied but the same, in a sense. And so you have foot binding, you have bride burning, you have breast implants and nose implants and anorexia and bulimia and female circumcision and polygamy. So all of these things, it's just what region of the world is a problem with women in, but not necessarily are there problems in some places and not in others. And what I wanted to focus on was that if we make a difference in the life of one girl, we can make a huge difference in the world. Not because of the ripple effect so much as the fact that that girl in and of herself is important, deserves dignity, and just making a difference in her life is meaningful, right? So the story goes that there's a young person on the beach picking up starfish that have been washed ashore and throwing them back into the ocean. And an older person comes by and says, why are you doing this? And she said, because I'm trying to save the starfish. And the person says, there's so many starfish out here, this is not making a difference. And she picks up one starfish and looks at the older person and says, to this one, I am making a great difference, and throws it back into the water. When we talk about issues, struggles, people, especially with women, people could say, there's so many of them in so many parts of the world. What I'm doing, sponsoring one girl through high school and teaching her these skills, will not make a huge difference. And our response to it, we wanted that to be, to this one starfish, you're making a huge difference. And if you think about it that way with every single one that you engage with, it's not overwhelming and it's not hopeless. Teach people how to think and make up their own minds. We give them the tools, if you will. Our job, one of my favorite quotes is, education, man or woman, is like a mine full of gems of inestimable value, and education alone can unlock that. But only when they personally engage the issues can that stick, so that the next charming speaker doesn't come and convince them otherwise. So what we focus on and stress is the independent investigation of truth. And then we challenge them on the assumptions that they're making as they're finding the knowledge. Women alone are not going to solve the gender inequality or inequity. It has to be a male issue as well. You see? So when an older woman from another generation looks at a young man who is saying, I am committing, I'm promising you that I'm going to do something for the rest of my life on prevention of violence against women, that gives a different twist to the interaction between the genders. So how we pick the Starfish students is that those that are already in the program interview. There's a panel that interviews incoming Starfish students. So we always look at the students who are at risk of dropping out of school because their parents cannot pay for their school fees. We get those girls, we bring them in for an interview. And what we're looking for is potential. We're looking for that spark of light that says, I'm not here to look at what other people are doing. I'm going to do my part no matter what. So they have a project where we put them in a situation where they don't know that we're watching them. And we just watch their behavior and look for potential. And then there's another part where they write an essay talking about what an educational investment in them will produce and why they believe that. And then they sit in front of a panel of girls who have already gone through the program and go through an interview. So the whole idea behind Starfish is how do you use your education for service to humanity. So we believe that you learn 1 + 1 = 2 so that you can serve humanity, so that you can be of service to humanity. And we want them to really have this habit from when they're young, so that they don't become president or minister of education or something, and we're wondering, okay, why are they not service-oriented? Well, because nobody actively taught them. Maybe they were just told but not made to do it and build it as a habit of the heart. So and then we also rail against this idea that this is charity, that when you sponsor a girl, you are giving charity. We want them to see themselves as noble human beings, and for anything that's given to them to be seen as an investment. You invest in me at this point in my life, and then the returns you get are these things right now, and more of that, and better as I get better in life. And so they have to look at their communities every term and pick 3 times what they can do to make the community a better place. So it depends on what the girl has learned, what they're good at, what problems they're facing in their communities that they feel they can solve. So if you're in an area where most of the kids, their parents cannot read or write, but you can read or write, you know that they can't help them with homework, but you can help them with homework with the high school education that you have. So for 5 years we were under the trees and we were borrowing space in the local high school. So we are an enrichment program. They don't come to school at Starfish. Our goal is to build an academy of excellence. So I want them to have the best computers. I want them to have classrooms that are not so hot because you have large windows and nice breeze coming through, solar powered. I want them to have different businesses on campus, like a photo lab where you can come and get your picture taken, a spa, a salon, an agricultural place, different. So a state-of-the-art academy where they can learn all through and do their business and become financially independent. So that's the big picture. I'm looking for funding and hoping that I get to build this before the girls graduate and build it themselves, But if I don't, I'm not discouraged because I know they'll come back and give back and do that. Doing that. We also have adult education classes for the women that sell at the market who want to learn a little bit to keep their books. We also have a kindergarten and elementary school program for people to bring their kids, because you have all these literate girls, they can do all that. They can teach an older woman or a younger boy or girl how to read, how to write, those basic things. But when we graduate, our English is not that great because we're taught English as first language learners when we're really second language learners. So what I want, immediately after high school, these girls going to university might be tough. So the next thing is to start some sort of a community college program where they come from high school, they come there and they strengthen their math and English and computer and communication skills. So one of the things we've done is, because people might go to the girl's parents and say, your girl, instead of studying, is cleaning the street, not realizing that academics are important, but using academics for service is more important. Because I always tell them, I don't want just a neurosurgeon. I want a neurosurgeon who believes in service. I want a mathematician who believes in service. I want a lawyer who believes in service. I want a maid who believes in service. Whatever your passion is, do it, but do it for the greater good, not just for you. And changing that mindset has made us require service projects for parents. We first of all, we're not going to force them. We're going to say, do 8 hours of service, or give us the money to pay somebody to do 8 hours they see the transformation in their children.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is a good way to understand it. You're not saving anybody, you know, you're not empowering anybody. You are serving. You are coming there to learn and to share and to walk in solidarity with the people. Gambia is a tourist industry to a large extent. A lot of tourists come, they stay on their tourist buses and they throw pens at the kids or candy. And so we've been socialized to think of people coming in from the west, from the north, coming in as people who have money and have money to give and stuff to give. And at Starfish, you live in the village, you take a walk in the village every morning. You don't give anybody anything. If you have anything to give, you can keep it until you're leaving, and then we will distribute it before you leave. But while you're there, you're one of the villagers, and you work with us at our level in our lives. You also spend a day in the life of a Starfish girl. So before you assign them any homework, you go and you spend the whole day with them. If they're getting water, you get water with them. If they're doing laundry, you do it with them. If they're cooking, you do it with them. And you understand a little bit about what their daily lives are like, so that when you see where they do homework and what they have to do before they get to the homework part, then you know how to structure your homework so it fits their lifestyle. And you just become family. You stay there, you work, you learn, you grow. Your passion is what is going to carry you through, not what you're an expert in. We can combine both, but I'm really interested in your passion. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in the world, and Africa is no exception. So I started out working on female circumcision. Then I branched into peer health education, AIDS awareness, STIs, things like that. And then I went into student unionism and looked at just a whole range of issues that affect students. And then I came to Berea and got into student government, the international student. For my master's, when I finished my master's, I taught at Murray State University. And I taught gender, class, race, sexual orientation, and religion. So it was MCG class, 200 level class. I taught just all of those things and how they, how does race affect relationships and gender and class and sexual orientation. And then I went to Syracuse University, and while in Syracuse, just as part of my community activism, I worked with refugees, refugee women. I was part of this group of grandmothers. There weren't really any mothers in the group except me. But it was called Women Transcending Boundaries. And it's still there. And so I volunteered with them. It's a women's group, and we deal with all sorts of different issues. And that's how I started volunteering at the refugee center. And then I taught a diplomacy class on girls' education in the developing world. And then I started Starfish. So that has been my path.